continue our journey through the gastrointestinal tract. It's an interesting journey, isn't it? So when you consider the digestion of our food and our gastrointestinal tract, which organ is the main organ of digestion? It's the pancreas. Because the pancreas finalises fat digestion, the pancreas finalises starch digestion, the pancreas finalises the fat digestion. And you will notice that when someone has pancreatic cancer, they often die very quickly from malnutrition. They die from malnutrition because if the food's not broken down to tiny substances, it actually can't get out of the gut and into the blood. And that's why the knowledge on digestion is such an important one. Because our cells require the nutrients, our whole body requires the nutrients to function properly. So the effective breakdown of our food in our gastrointestinal tract and the absorption out of our gut and into the blood, the health and sustenance of our whole body requires that process. And so we've moved on, we've absorbed our food, we've had a look at all the things that we can do to ensure that it's going to be working effectively, and now we're coming through the ileocecal valve into the colon. That ileocecal valve is a one-way valve because we don't want anything from the colon to go back into the small intestine, as you can imagine. Just let me look at this for 1 minute. And I'll just rub out that little bit there. Now we're back to pen. Okay, I think we're right. It's a wonderful thing, are these electronic whiteboards, which actually is a blackboard, which we're getting used to. And so coming into the colon, you'll notice there's a tiny little organ down the bottom called the appendix. And did you know God doesn't make mistakes? The appendix is a very important part of our gastrointestinal tract. It has two main functions. One function is it's called the colon's oil can, because the appendix lubricates the contents of the colon until it passes out. But also the appendix releases antibacterial fluid, so that if anything coming out of the small intestine is toxic, this antibacterial fluid calms it down until it comes out of the body. So why would it be toxic? When vegetables break down, they putrefy. They ferment. They don't putrefy, they ferment. When meat breaks down, it putrefies. Now, dogs have a gastrointestinal tract that's only 1 yard long, so it's in and out quickly. But us humans, our gastrointestinal tract is approximately 10 yards long. And if someone's on a high meat diet and having a lot of sugar, that just feeds the putrefaction process. So when it's coming out of here, it actually can be quite toxic. And so the appendix releases antibacterial fluid. Now, I've met some very healthy people who are meat eaters, but when you assess it, it's all organic and it's a small part of the diet. So that little bit of meat is packed out with a lot of vegetables. And that fermentation process from the breakdown of the vegetables protects somewhat that putrefaction process, which happens with the breakdown of meat. So why would someone have appendicitis? Appendicitis can be a result of that poor appendix overworking, because what's coming out of here is either got a lot of meat in it, so it's putrefying, or if they're eating all day long, drinking with their meals, having a huge amount of refined sugar, then this fermentation process can get to the point of producing alcohol, and when it comes out of here, then the appendix has to overwork to release this antibacterial fluid to calm it down while it goes through. If someone's appendix is swollen and painful, and your appendix is about just to the left of your right rib. It's way down the bottom here. See, this is your ascending colon, transverse colon, descending colon. So the appendix is just where the ileocecal valve is going into the first part of the ascending colon, which is about down in this area here. So if someone has appendix pain, ice is the best, because you want to get that inflammation down. And if that person were to have 3 enemas in a row, do you know, I think every home should have an enema kit. An enema kit is just like a small bucket that has a pipe and just warm water goes into the colon. With an enema kit, the first enema, when the water goes in and then you sit on the toilet, the last part is emptied out. And then you have another enema, which maybe be a cup and a half, then the water goes further round. And then after 10 minutes you'd sit and that comes out. If you have a third enema, it can come right around here, and so it releases the pressure in the colon. And often, if someone has appendicitis, the Colpax and the 3 enemas in a row can relieve it. If someone's in excruciating pain, it's probably an idea to go to the emergency, because if that appendix bursts, of course that can be life-threatening. But you might know the saying, nip it in the bud. A stitch in time saves 9. So ideally, we'd be looking after the colon. So we're going to have a look at some of the things that we can do to look after the colon. Promptly answer nature's immediate call. Got that? When the body says go, you must go. So a very important part of being your own doctor is listening. Have you ever been to a doctor who won't listen to you? It's very frustrating, isn't it? Don't be that doctor. If the body says go, you must go. Now, if we have a look back at the colon, you'll notice that there's a red, I've drawn a red muscle there, and that red muscle is called puborectalis. And that red muscle, it holds up the last part of the large intestine, and we're very glad it does, because if you're in a traffic jam and you need to go, you can't go. And aren't we glad we can hold it? And if the plane's about to land and you need to go and you can't, we're very thankful for puborectalis that holds up the last part of the large intestine. But many people use that ability to not go when you feel like going, because they're washing the car and they don't want to go until they finish washing the car, or they're cooking a meal and they don't want to go because they want to finish cooking the meal, or they're on the phone to a friend and they don't want to go because they want to finish the conversation, or they're writing an email and they don't want to go because they want to finish, whatever it is. And so they don't go. And then when they finish washing the car, finish cooking the meal, finish the phone call, then they'll go and sit. And have you found? Nothing comes away. Because when you feel to go, the last part of the large intestine is filled up. That's the pressure. We've got to go. And if you don't go, then it'll go back to the previous part of the large intestine. So when you feel to go, this part here fills up. And if you don't go, it can't stay there, because the pressure can weaken the anal area, and you don't want that weakened. So to protect from that, the body pulls it back into the last part of the large intestine. And one of the roles of the large intestine is to take water out so stools are formed. Because when the contents of the small intestine comes into the large intestine, it's liquid. So one of the main functions of the colon is to take water out so stools are formed. And that's why if a person's dehydrated, more water can be taken out than should be taken out. And so if the body says go, you must go. I had a guest who told me this story. She said, I'm a consultant. People pay $300 an hour to speak to me. If I'm in the middle of a consulting session and I need to go, I say, excuse me, a crisis has arisen, I'll ring you back. And they go to the bathroom. So please, when the body says go, you must go. So let me show you what happens to that little sphincter when you keep holding it back when you shouldn't. Here's a person sitting on the throne. And when a person sits on the throne, puborectalis remains taut. And we know things can get through. But if a person is sitting on the throne, and in front of the throne is a little stool, so that when they sit on the throne, they're in the squatting position, puborectalis opens, and when puborectalis opens, then the colon opens up like this because puborectalis is opened and the person can pass with much greater ease. I've been in many countries of the world. When I was in Africa, when I was in Singapore, when I was in India, and I went to the bathroom, it's a hole on the floor. Now it's all tiled and it's all flush, it's all clean, but you squat to go. So there are many countries in the world today who still squat to do their daily evacuation. And science is now proving that it is the best way to go because this little muscle called puborectalis, it relaxes when we squat. You can go to Bed Bath & Beyond and buy something called Squatty Potty, and that sits around the toilet, allowing the person to be in the squatting position when they do their daily evacuation. So we'll rub that out. I'd like to do it easier. Just getting familiar with this. By the end of the week, I'll have it down to pat. But until then, we draw. So to look after the colon, please promptly answer nature's immediate call. Position is important, and the best position is the squatting position. Not only does the squatting position allow the evacuation with greater ease, but it takes all pressure off the anus. And when pressure is on the anus, then hemorrhoids can appear. So the best way to prevent hemorrhoids is to squat. And the best way to heal from hemorrhoids is to squat because it takes all pressure off that last area. What's also important is hydration. We should be drinking approximately 8 glasses of water a day. Start early. It's the easiest way to get it all in. Please go to bed with a glass of water next to your bed. If you go to bed with a glass of water next to your bed, then as soon as you wake up, you can have that water. And aim for at least 2 glasses before breakfast. A good rule of thumb is 50 pound to 4 glasses. So 100 pound, about 8 glasses. And if you're 200 pound, that might sound too much. But what you do is you just start where you are. You just start drinking more. And the beauty of leaving 5 hours between meals, you've got plenty of time to drink water. Plenty of time to drink water. So make sure that you're having at least 8 glasses of water a day. I think the hardest time to drink water is when it's cold. So to help you get that in, you might put a bit of hot water into your water. You might put a squeeze of lemon into your water. I just always have it next to me. In the car, I've got it. When I'm working at the computer, I've got it. In bed, I've got it. I just always have the water there. What's also important is fibre. We talked about the importance of fibre for feeding the microorganisms in the gastrointestinal tract. Fibre is also very important for the stimulation of peristalsis. Peristalsis is the gentle movement of the colon ever forward to effectively evacuate the colon. But fibre also sweeps all the little curves and grooves that you'll find in the colon. So you can see these little curves here, and also these two corners. This is called the splenic flexure, and this is called the hepatic flexure, these big turns in the colon. And when a person is eating a diet that is very low in fibre, meat has no fibre, and all your refined grains, refined sugar has no fibre, then it's not hard for things to get caught in these little corners. And that's where fibre is very important, to gently stimulate movement through the gastrointestinal tract. That's why the high fibre diet, it's important for several reasons, and it's one of the reasons why it is an essential nutrient, and that is for the colon. I was reading a report from a prince, an authority in the field, that said there's no need to eat fruits and vegetables because insoluble fibre can't even be used by the body. Well, that is true, but it plays a very important role in the bulking out and the health of the large colon. So fibre is actually very important. Fibre slowly releases the glucose, and as you'll find out tomorrow, a slower release of glucose is important for the balancing of proper blood sugar levels, and also for the importance of conquering diabetes. But it's also in the fibre part of foods. You'll find your vegetables. Vegetables are high in fibre, high in minerals, and low in sugars, whereas fruit is high in fibre, high in sugars, low in minerals. So a balance of the fruit and vegetables is very important for also the minerals in the body. Our bones aren't made of calcium, our bones are made of 12 minerals and 64 trace minerals. And so another reason why that fibre is very, very important. So coming back to what our colon needs, yes, it needs fibre. The colon also needs us to exercise. When you exercise, you increase the circulation of the blood to the colon, and when you exercise, you are causing movement of the colon. Just consider when you're walking, every step that you take, the colon is moving. And if your exercise is on the rebounder, jumping up and down, so every jump the colon is getting that movement. But particularly your Pilates type exercise, your core strengthening exercises, every time those muscles are moving, it's massaging the colon. So exercise is very important for the proper movement of the colon. Dr. Kellogg, famous doctor who wrote many books on health, he said 3 evacuations a day should be equal to the 3 intakes of food a day. And many people think 3 intakes of food a day and 1 evacuation is normal, but he says that's constipation. And notice with our colon, if you tell it to go, it won't. And if you're not going and you tell it to go, it's not going to have an effect. And if you're going too much and you tell it to stop, it won't. No, the colon has a mind of its own. So what the colon needs is gentle stimulation. So how do we gently stimulate the colon? We gently stimulate the colon by the position. We gently stimulate the colon by keeping well hydrated. We gently stimulate the colon with the fibre and with the exercise. But what if someone says, but I'm doing all that and the colon still will not go every day? Well, there's one other stimulation, and you might laugh at this one. That's a pun. Laughter. In Proverbs 17:22, the Bible says, a merry heart doeth good like a medicine. So medicine. And the last part of that verse says, but a broken spirit dries up the bones. I'd like to suggest that a broken spirit can dry up the colon. So our colon is very much influenced by our emotions. How many young brides the day before their wedding have diarrhea? How many people who are stressed out before an exam either have diarrhea or constipation? We all react in different ways, and that's why I believe that God meant each one of us to be our own doctors, because only we know what we've been through, only we know what we've been through, and only we know how our body responds or reacts to different things and also different foods. That's why it's very important to listen and respond. So what else can you do to encourage things happening? Well, there's a wonderful little seed called the chia seed. And you can make a chia seed gel, and to do this, you do 1/3 cup of the chia seeds, because chia seeds, they actually absorb up to 25% of their own weight in water. And with that, put 3 cups of fluid. So you could put 3 cups of water, you could put 3 cups of apple juice, you could put 3 cups of organic soy milk, but you make a gel. And then if you have 1/2 cup of that gel every meal, that's great. It's stimulating movement in the colon. If it doesn't do it, have 1 cup a meal. In fact, you can put it in smoothies, you can put it over your breakfast. If you eat the dry chia seed, that can actually pull water out of you. So having this chia seed gel, so this is called the chia gel. And if you Google chia seed desserts, there are some delicious desserts you can make from chia seed, because even within 5 minutes it's going like a soft gel. So what we usually do at the retreat, we put that in a jar, and every few minutes we shake and let it sit and do something else, come back, shake it again. And we usually keep it in the fridge, and then that's easy. That can be poured over breakfast, poured over the salad. And again, you can make it tasteless by doing it with water, or you can make it a bit more exciting by putting it in a juice or putting it in something else. So that's very good at movement in the colon. My daughter Emma, she lives in Wisconsin, and she has a website. It's very easy to remember, barbaro'neill.com. And if you Google barbaro'neill.com, you'll come to her website, and she sells colon tea. And this colon tea mix is the mix that we use at our retreat. And it contains 3 herbs. The recipe is in both my books, Self-Heal by Design, and also in Sustain Me on the chapter on the colon. It's 1 part Cascara subgrada, 2 part licorice, and 3 part buckthorn bark. And what we do is we boil it up, so a gentle simmer, and the people drink that at night. When people come to our retreat, they drink that tea before they go to bed, because they have 2 days on juices. So there's no solid food going in, and sometimes the colon can stop, and we don't want the colon to stop, because the colon eliminates the largest pieces of waste. Some people need 1/4 cup, some people need 1/2 cup, some people need 1 cup. We had a lady attend our program, and she was a psychologist, and she evacuated once a week with help. I said, we'll get you moving. And so what we did, we found that she needed 3 cups of tea a day. She'd have a cup of tea in the morning, a cup of tea in the middle of the day, and a cup of tea in the evening. We also made a castor oil compress. The compress means that more castor oil can be held, so more castor oil can go into you. And she wore that overnight with a plastic covering, and then stretchy pants to hold it into place, because that castor oil can penetrate deep, and it can help to break up any build-up in the colon. So she was going 2 times a day. She was very excited. In fact, by the 3rd day, the whites of her eyes became white. Her complexion, which had a grey look, had become pink. By the end of the week, her mind was clear. She said, maybe this is the problem with half my patients. The colon's not working. Do you know, if you're not taking you call it the trash, we call it the rubbish bin. If you don't empty that every day, you know, the kitchen's not going to smell very good, is it? So the evacuation of the colon is of the utmost importance. So what she told me after that's very interesting. She said after 4 months, she didn't need the colon tea anymore. Her body was going naturally. It seems that these herbs in this colon tea, they gently revive and restore colon function. Psalm 104 verse 14, the Bible says, God made herbs for the service of man. I love this verse. It's a beautiful description on herbs. It serves you. Where would you like me? What would you like me to do? Whereas drugs are like robots. They come in, I've got a job to do, whether you need it or not. Absolutely, in a crisis, a drug may save a life, but the drug can never heal you. It's the body that heals you. She said to me that when she went home, she changed her diet. She went on a plant-based diet. She started drinking more water. She'd effectively detoxed herself from coffee, her week at our retreat. And she took 3 cups of tea a day. And when she did that, she would go twice a day. After 6 weeks, she started going 4 times a day. So she brought it back to 2 cups of tea a day. After 6 weeks, she started going 4 times a day. So she brought it back to 1 cup a day. She said at the end of 4 months, she was going without any help. Isn't that good news? So she'd retrained her body, because our cells have memory. So even when someone is often doing all this, the colon is in the habit of just not going. And so what these herbs do, they seem to reprogram. But also what had helped her was doing these things. So she couldn't just take the tea and not drink adequate water and not exercise and not have the fibre. So it was all part of it. In the book, The Ministry of Healing, the author says that the laws of health are the true remedies. What are the laws of health? That's exercise, proper diet, water, going to bed early, and we're going to be looking at sleep later in the week, sunshine every day, trusting in God, thanking God every day for this amazing body we've got, because stress can certainly have an effect on the colon. So it all comes together. But what if the person's going too much? What's that called? That's called irritable bowel syndrome, or Crohn's disease, or colitis, or gastritis, even ulcerative colitis. They are all indications that there's irritation in the gastrointestinal tract. Now, if anyone here has been given any of those titles, my suggestion is reject the title. So if you go to a prince, remember Psalm 146 verse 3, you'll know it very well by the end of the week, put not your trust in princes. You might go there for an opinion, and when they give the opinion, maybe they'll say, you've got Crohn's disease. You know what you say? Thank you so much for your advice. I'm going to seriously consider this, and you leave. And you pick up Sustain Me, and you have a look at what you can do to give the colon the right conditions. Crohn's disease has been called an autoimmune disease. I have to tell you, I don't believe in autoimmune diseases. We've seen people totally heal from autoimmune diseases. And I know that God made the human body to heal itself. God didn't design the body to eat itself. Something has happened to cause these things to happen. So part of bringing about healing is listening, trying this, and this is what this psychologist do. When her body started going 4 times a day, that told her to back off. So she backed off. So what can we do for this other situation, which is irritable bowel, or Crohn's disease, or colitis? We have found that the same treatments will actually cause the colon to heal from all of these. Now, there are 5 allergen foods. I call these the 5 common allergens. It's dairy. Cow's milk is excellent milk for baby cows. Got that? When you have a look at every creature, milk's for babies. People say to me, Barbara, what milk do you drink? I say, I'm weaned, I eat food. I've got teeth. The hybridized wheat of today, the wheat of today was hybridized in the 1950s. And in the hybridization of that wheat, a starch structure and a protein and gluten structure were created that the body does not recognize. And so often there's a reaction there. So whenever there's an inflammation in the gastrointestinal tract, these foods are best eliminated. Oats are very high in a plant chemical called lectins, and when lectins get into the blood, they increase inflammation. My sons eat oats every morning. They love them, they go well on them. But if you've got any inflammation in the gut, it's best to leave the oats. Peanuts are commonly contaminated with mould. They're not a nut, they're a legume. They grow in the ground and they're very susceptible to mould growth. I know in Australia, no child can take peanuts to school because there are some children that can have an anaphylactic shock. Possibly it happens here. It's actually not the peanut, it's the mould growth on the peanut. If you're feeling very sad right now because you love peanut butter, try almond butter, try cashew butter, or you could come to Australia and try macadamia nut butter. So there's lots of alternatives to that. Refined sugar. Refined sugar is like kerosene to a fire. Refined sugar just increases inflammation in any area of the body. So these foods must stop if someone has any irritation in the gastrointestinal tract. And there is a herb. Remember Psalm 104 verse 14? God gave herbs for the service of man, and the herb is called slippery elm. And the slippery elm is the powdered bark of the slippery elm tree. And when you put water with it, it goes like a soft gel. And that gel coats, soothes and lines the gastrointestinal tract. Slippery elm contains a growth stimulant, so it stimulates rapid healing in the gastrointestinal tract. The cells that line the gastrointestinal tract are remade every 3 to 5 days. So it doesn't take long to heal problems in the gastrointestinal tract. I gave this lecture on the gut in New Zealand a few years ago, and a lady came up to me at the end of the lecture. It was a Tuesday night. She said, I've had irritable bowel for 30 years. She said, I'm on anti-inflammatories and I'm on steroids. Now, if this has been happening for 30 years, is it working? And what's the definition of insanity? To do what we've always done and expect different results. I'm not criticising her, she doesn't know what else to do. She said, Barbara, I eat these foods every meal. She said, I didn't know that these were contributing to the irritation of the gastrointestinal tract. If a person doesn't have irritation of the gastrointestinal tract, they could possibly get away with eating that. But if there's irritation there, these are like kerosene to a fire. She went straight out and she bought slippery elm. The next day she started taking it. She took it before breakfast, before lunch, before her supper, and just before she went to bed. She also stopped this food. She started getting some organic soy milk. She started to use spelt. Here in America, you've got an amazing bread. You can order it. It's called Simple Needs. And the Needs is a K. So Simple Needs, you can just do simpleneeds.com. They'll deliver it to your home. Many Whole Foods sell it. Apparently they've just got a contract with Target, who also sell it now. It's a gluten-free sourdough. And I don't know if you've ever had gluten-free bread before. It's not very nice. This is very nice. And it'll keep in your fridge for 6 weeks. So she got a gluten-free or even a spelt bread. She started cooking millet for breakfast instead of oats. She started to have almond butter instead of peanut butter. She got her sugars right down, and if she did use it, she'd use a little honey. That was Tuesday night. Thursday night, she came running up to me. She was smiling. She said, "Barbara, I've stopped bleeding from the colon." She said, "I stopped bleeding after 24 hours. She said, "I don't get the cramps anymore in my colon." She said, "I used to go 6 times a day to the toilet. I'm going 4 times. And she said, "Yesterday, my stool started to have form." She was so excited. She's in her 70s. 30 years she's had this. We had a man attend our program. And when I said to him, "What's your reason for coming?" he said, "I'm here to support my wife. In other words, just leave me alone. I'm just keeping the little wife happy." But he was doing the program, so I asked him questions. I said, "Are you on any medication?" He said, "Yes, I'm on steroids and I'm on anti-inflammatories because I have got irritable bowel syndrome." I said, "Oh, interesting." I said, "What do you have for breakfast?" He said, "Oh, for breakfast I have toast and I have peanut butter and jam." Oh, there I do it. Have a cup of coffee with 2 teaspoons of sugar. Now, I never say that's terrible and I never say that's great. I just go, "Oh, what do you have next?" He said, "Oh, mid-morning I have a cup of coffee with a couple of my wife's sugar biscuits." "Oh, what do you have for lunch?" "Oh, usually a couple of sandwiches with cheese and meat and coffee and a few more biscuits." "Oh, what do you have in the afternoon?" "Oh, a cup of coffee, a couple of sweet biscuits." "Oh, what do you have at night?" "Oh," he said, "I always have a steak. I like pasta." He said, "I like ice cream for dessert." "Oh." And then he said, "I like a cup of coffee with my wife's sugar biscuits, and I always like to have a scotch." "Oh," was my comment. And I didn't say anything because I'm not the judge. He doesn't know. He's just doing what he's been told. I said, "Do you mind if I try something?" He said, "Do what you want." So I gave him the slippery elm mix 4 times a day. First 2 days at Misty Mountain are juices. Carrot, celery and apple juice are the main juices. It's 80% carrot, 10% celery, 10% apple. That's nice and soothing to the gut. After 48 hours, he said, "Something interesting's happening." He said, "I'm not bleeding from the colon anymore." He said, "I'm not getting the cramps anymore." He told me that every morning he goes for a walk. He lives in Port Macquarie, which is near the beach. And he said he knows where the toilets are because he knows he's got 4 stops on his morning walk. This is on the anti-inflammatories and the steroids. On Wednesday, he came to me very excited. Remember, he's just here for his wife. Thank you very much. He came to me very excited. He said, "My stools have form." He said, "What do you reckon?" I said, "Well, I can't tell you what to do. I have no authority over your medication, but if I was you, I would stop your anti-inflammatories. Because the fact that there's no bleeding, that there's no cramping, that there's no pain and you've got form, that's an indication that the inflammation in the gastrointestinal tract has calmed down. Remember, those cells are remade every 3 to 5 days. So you can get responses quite quickly." I said, "You're here, we'll watch you." I mean, if he got diarrhea 10 times a day, he could go back on his anti-inflammatories or go back on half the anti-inflammatories or just take slippery elm every hour. He didn't get diarrhea. In fact, at the end of the week, I had breakfast with the guests. He came running up to me. He said, "I've just gone for a morning walk and I haven't gone." Remember how many times he used to have to go? 4 times before breakfast. He's a very excited man, very excited. At the retreat, we showed him what to eat. We don't serve any of this at our retreat. He went home a very happy man. He was not yet healed, but what's his body just said to him? Yeah. And you will find that sometimes the body will say, "I like that." Sometimes the body will say, "Can you please not do that again?" Many people don't know how to listen, but it's important to listen. His doctor had actually just said to him, "We can do no more for you." What about the steroids? I believe that he keeps doing that, he can ease off the steroids, has to do that very slowly. If he's on 20 milligrams of cortisone or prednisone, he has to go down to 15. And just listen and watch, everything's all right? Yes, it's all right. Well, wait another 2 weeks of doing everything right and then maybe drop to 10 and see what the body says. If diarrhea comes back, go back on it again and then try another 2 weeks later, or just take slippery elm every hour. If someone's going 10 times a day to the toilet, they can certainly take that, so you adjust that. So my daughter at barbara'o'neill.com's, she sells a mix called Gut Repair. And Gut Repair is mostly slippery elm, but it has a little golden seal in it. And golden seal is called King of Tonics to all mucous membranes. It has a little golden seal and a little myrrh. And we find in serious cases of irritation, the Gut Repair is even a little bit more potent. And we have seen many people, irritable bowel, Crohn's disease, colitis, ulcerative colitis, we've seen them totally healed by those simple lifestyle changes. Because the cells that line the gastrointestinal tract, they're remade every 3 to 5 days. And many people don't realise that some of the foods that they are eating are actually maintaining that irritation. And so this man that healed from his irritable bowel syndrome, he was late 60s. And remember the lady, she was in her 70s. But I have met other people who have said, no, I'm actually really like eating this food. Do you know what I say? Your choice. Isn't that our God-given right? And then I hear 2 years later that the whole of the colon has been taken. Do you know there's a poem, it's called Choose Your Hard? Marriage is hard, divorce is hard, choose your hard. Saving every cent's hard, being in debt's hard, choose your hard. Being obese is hard, keeping fit is hard, choose your hard. Choose your hard with the gut. Some might think stopping this is hard, but I tell you, having irritable bowel is very hard. So you choose your hard. And it's quite possible when that gut has totally healed, no more inflamed, maybe you could have some of these foods. Your body will quickly tell you. If you have it and you get full-on diarrhea, it's called a breakout, it's called a crisis, a flare-up. If someone has a flare-up and they've got irritable bowel, you know what they do? They just take slippery elm every hour and they just have thick vegetable soup. Not forever, just until that settles down. How do you know there's a flare-up? There's pain, there's cramping, there's even sometimes bleeding, and they've got full-on diarrhea. So you listen and you watch and you observe and see what the body likes. When someone has irritable bowel, Crohn's disease, colitis, often the food's just going straight through, and that's where they have fatigue because the cells aren't getting the nutrients. And that's what I love about this slippery elm. Now, slippery elm is the powder bark of the slippery elm tree. It's a tree that grows in America, and when I go to Europe, they're very sad because it's very hard to get. But here in the US, it's one of your trees. So it's not hard to get slippery elm. How do you do it? You get a teaspoon and you mix it very quickly in half a cup of hot water. Mix it nice and quick or it'll go lumpy. And then throw it down. If you mix it and let it sit on the bench for 10 minutes, it'll go very thick and you'll eat it with a spoon. And if you find it too thick and you don't want it that thick, just put a bit more water with it. Necessity is the mother of invention. You'll work out how to do it. but beautiful illustrations of how the body can heal even from constipation, even from irritable bowel, Crohn's disease, colitis, gastritis. Yes, the body can heal from all of those. How long will it take? It all depends on how advanced the situation is and how diligent the person is to do what you've got to do for it to be healed. And if there is a flare-up, that's when you sit, what was your last meal? Because that's the only thing that touches our gut, is the food that we're eating. I'd like to thank you for your attention tonight. And as we finish our journey through our gastrointestinal tract, tomorrow night we're looking at diabetes and we're looking at the heart. And everyone that has a heart should be here. So thank you, and I look forward to seeing you tomorrow night. Thank you.